All right, well, hey everybody, and welcome to the Pixar Post Book Club discussion where we're going to talk about the Art of Ratatouille tonight. Awesome, awesome book, awesome movie, even more excited to get into it and talk about it. I had pages and pages of notes, well, not pages and pages, but 4 pages of notes that I wanted to call out. And of course, as I go, I have to, scribble my little sketches on there as I see the drawings from Jason Deemer and all those kind of fun things. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about several things tonight. We are going to close a couple windows here, just get my internet cleaned up a little bit. We're going to talk through the different sections of the book, kind of break it down by the introduction, kind of some of the phrases and catchphrases that people have talked about in the book. We're going to talk about the characters, how they break down Paris and the kitchen, all those kind of fun things. And throughout this, we're also going to be joined by other individuals. I'll introduce them in just a second, as usual. But if you're listening and you're watching this live and you have any questions, you can always ask them using on Twitter, hashtag PixarPostBC, and I'll be monitoring those. Julie, who is usually here with me, our son is trying to not go to bed right now, so she's trying to deal with that, and then she might be jumping back in. But yeah, if you have any questions, Pixar Post BC. You can mention them directly on YouTube if you have to be watching this streaming there. You can submit your questions directly in Google+, or we have another way. I'm actually going to hold off on that one. We're going to launch that fully for the next Pixar Post Book Club because it's going to be pretty cool. So let's talk about who we're going to be joined with at this point. So first off, we are joined by a guest we've had on a couple times before. We're going to be joined by Miss Katie Catherine. Which would you prefer to go by? Is it Kate?
Kate.
Okay, fantastic. So you are, I'll give a little bit of intro to yourself, what you're doing, what you're going to school for, and kind of the role that you're ultimately leading towards, if you will.
Okay. I am a student at the University of Utah right now, majoring in animation, and I will start an internship at Disney Interactive on Monday. Hopefully that pans out well, and eventually I hope to go to Pixar one day and I think be a producer. I still have a lot of exploring to do before I make up my mind, but that's...
Sure, that's fair and that's awesome. And obviously, we had a lot of pre-show, well, not a lot, but some pre-show banter where we were going back and forth, talking about you going there and Dan being, who was also joining us, Dan the Pixar fan, of course, who's been with us on almost every one of these, of just being a little bit further north of you in Idaho, and so big time congratulations for the first step among many in your goal towards getting at Pixar.
Well, thank you. And you know what, Dan? I want to thank you and Julie for having your Pixar Post podcast because that's been pretty inspirational.
Oh, well, fantastic. But you just thanked Dan, by the way.
Oh, I'm so sorry, TJ. Yeah, thanks for your blog.
Yeah, you're welcome. And see, you can thank Dan though because his blog is inspirational. It makes me buy a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe more dangerous than inspirational.
That's certainly true. That is certainly true, without a doubt. So awesome. Congratulations again. We cannot wait to hear about the adventures and how things go. Obviously, we know that you can only say so much during an internship of what you're doing, but it'll be interesting to kind of share it along. Yeah. And obviously, joined as usual, Mr. Dan, the Pixar fan. But we have a special guest with Dan as well. And his wife, Britta, is joining us. So welcome, Dan and Britta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're excited to do this. Britta has been waiting for this for a while because she loves Ratatouille. She loves French culture. This is her thing. So.
Well, during the pre-show talk, we had discussed that Britta has been to Paris, but I'm now noticing that she even has the striped shirt going on as well, which really ties into like the French mime feel.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Impressive.
I didn't have a Ratatouille shirt, so a French shirt was...
Neither did I, and I'm very jealous of your Remy shirt. I put on The Incredibles only because it's like, same director, it's as close as I can get.
Well, you know what?
I wanted a Remy shirt.
the thought is there. It's appreciated, and I'll say, without even knowing it, Kate is theming a little bit in the background of her room because the next book that we're going to be discussing is going to be what I will be calling the Art of Bug's Life. It's really it's not the Art of Bug's Life, but for the sake of it, the art of making of an epic of miniature proportions about a bug's life. So, but yeah, she has that in the background there. You can see her calendar. I'll just shoot it over to her. You can see the calendar from Disneyland there. Appropriate modeling. So, Dan, as usual, let's go ahead and give a little plug for your site. We talked about the blog, that it's dangerous, but give a little bit of a plug for your site and what you do there.
Okay. Well, I know that I'm not the only one out there that loves collecting Pixar toys, collectibles, knickknacks, trinkets, whatever. Just a slew of stuff I can get my hands on. I am a big collector of Pixar merchandise. Have been since Toy Story came out in '95. And a couple of years ago, almost 2 years ago now, I started a blog just to kind of document my collection. I do little write-ups on it. I do reviews and provide links to where to buy, basically to just help those other collectors out there like myself to find cool things that they may have not have heard about before or whatever. And I have a lot of people calling me or contacting me and asking where I got certain things and helping them find certain things. So it's really fun being able to help other people track down certain items.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and like I said, it's forced me to buy a lot of other items as well, but really, really cool stuff. And then, Britta, what is your connection with Pixar? Were you always a lifelong Pixar fan as well, or did you kind of come across after you met Dan and you guys started dating and eventually got married? Is that how it grew, or how did it start for you?
No, I grew up really liking Pixar as well, and I remember as a little kid being impressed. I'm like, wow, they actually thought about the plot of these movies, because I felt like even as a kid I could tell that a lot of cartoons out there were kind of churned out, and
especially the Disney sequels,
and I remember,
like in the 90s.
I remember being totally surprised when Toy Story 2 came out. I'm like, wow, this is like right up there, maybe even better than the first one. I've never seen a sequel that was so good. So I've always been a Pixar fan. Not quite as hardcore as Dan, but
no,
definitely.
she's always appreciated it,
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. So,
I imagine.
So I guess leading into that, let's start talking about the book a little bit, and I'm going to throw it right back to Britta first, which is, was there one particular part of the book that when you were looking at it that really stood out? Was it about Paris, since you love Paris so much? Was it about the characters, or what stood out for you?
Well, I have to start off by saying that although my favorite Pixar movie is Monsters, Inc., if I were a Pixar movie, I would be Ratatouille, because I'm all French, and I love food and cooking and eating. I don't love rats, but the rest of it is all very me. So this movie has a special place in my heart. I also have to correct you. I've never been to Paris. I flew directly into Nice. It's in southern France. So I've been to France, but not Paris.
Okay. Good to know. No, good to know. Yeah.
To answer your
little details.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had to correct.
It's France, you know.
Yeah.
Paris.
That's fair. I called out Kate for thanking Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Well, so what? If you ask what stood out most about this book, this was my favorite picture. I don't know if you can see.
We sat in bed last night. We went through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I just love how, like, the powdered sugar looks kind of like snow, and I told Dan if we ever did a Ratatouille-themed kitchen, we would have that picture framed in there.
Yeah, it's classy enough. It's a really nice.
That's awesome, and that actually leads me to a question that I had, which was, and I'm just going to jump right to it. I was thinking about, they talked about this whole dream sequence that Remy was, where he was going to be making food and doing all these kind of things, and there was all this pastry and the powdered sugar, and I don't remember any of that, so clearly it didn't make the final cut. But what did you guys think about that, and how, like, I thought it was really neat just seeing that, and it made me want to see that sugary, powdery world, because it really wasn't a movie about kind of that pastry side of it. It was more of the decadent side of food.
Yeah. Yeah, and it would have been interesting to see where this originally fit in, too. Was this more towards the beginning, when he was still kind of dreaming about food and becoming a chef before he actually got into it, I imagine, or, you know, where it would have fit in. But it's definitely different than the rest of the movie. Like, the whole color scheme and the whole style, I feel like, of these pictures is a bit different than what we actually saw in the final movie. But like you said, I would have liked to see the sequence. I mean, it looks colorful, and it looks really whimsical, and the artist talked about having like a inspiration from the Nutcracker when they saw it, and how the snow comes down on the stage, and kind of being influenced with that as I think, is that a girl, Dominique?
Yeah, Dominique.
Oh, Dominique Lewis. It's a guy.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
See, that's what I wanted to clarify. So he had seen the Nutcracker, and he had had a lot of influence from that. And I can see it in the images as well.
Maybe they had to pick either pastries or food because I think, aren't the French known for their pastries? Maybe that was a too off the beaten path, or we need to pick one direction kind of decision.
I feel like with French chefs, you have like pastry chefs and you have more of like entree and cuisine chefs, and so maybe they figured it wouldn't be accurate to have the same chefs making meals and pastry, because that's kind of its own specialty.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's actually really cool. But I kind of feel like, after I thought about it a little more, I feel like it kind of had to be cut out, not just because, like Dan kind of alluded to it with the color scheme too. It was like a tie-in of like what Britta said and what Dan said and what Kate said. We're all on the same page. We're all talking about the fact that it kind of strayed a little bit from what that the main focus was. Yeah. And then you're talking about, also, I didn't even think about this, but if you're talking about the kitchen setup and everything, that kitchen wasn't really set up from a pastry standpoint. It would have had to be a whole different area. I wish I could have seen it, but I kind of feel like I get why it had to hit the floor and get out of there.
Yeah, you could tell it would have been a beautiful sequence, but they have to make those choices all the time. Some of the best ideas have to get cut sometimes, which is a hard thing.
They should have made a short.
That's
a great idea.
I am really into that. I would love to see, even now, I mean, tell me if I'm crazy, but I'm thinking it would be kind of really cool to almost see it as like, would a prequel be cool of this? Like him before he got to this now, and you could really know that like he was really building up to that? Or should it just be like he's so into cuisine now he's thinking pastries and desserts?
I'm actually thinking he's so into it now that he's expanding his...
Yeah.
Or what if he falls in love with a little female rat who's into making pastries?
I love it.
That's cute. Pixar, if you're listening, you can use this idea. Fantastic.
You can use this idea. Dan just gave permission, yeah.
But if you use it, you have to give me props and send me something cute merchandise-wise.
Oh, okay. So there's...
That's a very fair deal, and I'm sure they'd take it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the idea of a short being brought up and using this abandoned concept, and you know, it seems like something perfect that could fit in 6 or 7 minutes. I love it.
Yeah. Yes.
Without a doubt. So I guess kind of when the book got kicked off, they talked about, obviously it's got the foreword, and you got some comments by Brad Bird. I thought it was awesome. It's on page 9 in case anybody wants to reference it on theirs. But it was awesome reading Brad Bird's comments about how not only is it how he was apprehensive coming into the world, I'm reading my notes here, and into the project, because he had to jump into this defined world of characters, the location, etc. And obviously it's easy to be vested into something if you've had a hand in initially creating it, the world and the characters. But now he has to jump in, and he's like, I don't really know anything about gourmet cooking. I have to learn these characters and fit in the story. I guess what threw me for that is we have this, and I think so many people outside of even the Pixar world hold Brad Bird up on this pedestal, and we think he's like just this mad genius of a director and a writer and a creator. And it's an odd moment of seeing like this vulnerability side, which kind of was really cool, I thought, and I really connected with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we like that too. We actually read his introduction yesterday, and it also not only with what you were going along with, but also it shows that sometimes we need to take risks. We're not. I'm sure he was nervous jumping into this. Like he says, he didn't know about Paris or gourmet cooking or rats, which is the whole movie, and it shows that he was willing to step out of his comfort zone and to try something new that he hadn't done before, instead of just sticking with his typical action flicks that that he was known for.
Like Iron Giant too.
Iron Giant and The Incredibles and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool stuff, and I liked it. And I just like that he also kind of drove home the point that a lot of artists drive home after they get to that level of being a director or in that role at Pixar, as they talk about how growing up, so many people view art as something that's like so, especially working in Hollywood, so distant or not even possible, especially if you're not living in that area, and that art is something that's done after real work is completed, and real work I'm putting in air quotes, but it was super cool, like just seeing that extra, I already said it, but that extra vulnerability and that just reaffirmation that artists kind of need a lot to keep pushing forward, that art is real work, and it's value to bring this creation to life and bring it to to people. So I thought it was a really great introduction as far as comparing it to some of the other Art of books. I thought this one had a lot of just the gravity to it.
I agree. I think it was nice to hear that it doesn't always come easy, that there are challenges for even the best people out there. And I think it ties into the theme of the movie where, like, at least the theme I think is follow your dream, and if you dream big enough, you can make it come true. And even though he didn't initially come up with the idea, he took it on and made it happen. I think it kind of correlates a little bit, but
yeah, absolutely it does.
Go along with that. I love what you were saying, and that's exactly what we were talking about last night. Me and Britta were talking about the theme of the movie as well, and even going along with that, what I love with not only just like being able to achieve your dreams, as Remy worked hard enough, but I also love that they kind of put a little spin on the theme or the message of the movie, which was ultimately what is it? I'm trying to think of the exact quote. It's
anyone can cook.
Not everyone can be a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere.
Yes.
I think that was kind of a really cool little twist on the normal kind of message of achieving your dreams and things like that.
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, without a doubt. So before I get in and start flipping open and showing pages and everything, there's a lot to drool over in the book and take inspiration from. Dan, I'm going to throw it to you, and I want to know, do you have one particular piece that really stood out for you? And I'll kind of spread it out throughout this, and then eventually I'll ask Kate, and eventually I'll ask Britta, but not right away. But Dan, was there one in particular that really caught your eye, or one that you were like, wow, I love this?
There was actually. It's on page 137.
Okay. And feel free to hold her up too.
Oh yeah. So what stood out to me about this, I mean, there's a lot of stunning pieces, but what stood out to me about this one, it kept on coming back to me when I was thinking, because I knew you would ask that, so I was kind of thinking about what one really stood out. And I love this because it really shows, I think, maybe an idea that was maybe abandoned again, like kind of like the dream sequence of seeing a flashback of Gusteau when he was, in his prime, running Gusteau's. And I realized in the movie we never see him in any kind of flashback in real life. We see him as a little ghost guy that pops up every now and then, but we never actually got to see him in the flesh. And I thought that would be a really cool idea, and that image in this on this page really stood out to me in that way. I would have liked to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another part of the film, and that's why these books are so awesome, because it's another part of the film that we get a little bit of a glimpse into. And I loved how at the top they had these dream, like these not dream, but like painting him as like godly Zeus character, like on the wall, showing how important and massive of a chef he was to the culinary world. Just super cool, like all these little details and stuff that you just like. They spent all this time. This Randy Barrett spent all this time creating this, and it never even made it into the movie. That's why I love these books, because not only are you getting additional insights into what we have seen, but you're getting additional insights into things we've never seen. So really cool stuff. I do agree. I love that one. I love the fact that Dominique Lewis's work that he did there, his digital painting over that work, that the set render that Daniel Arriaga did, just amazing work for sure. And you're right, another scene that kind of hit the cutting room floor. And I think over in the corner you get a little bit of a look at Skinner in there too, and just it's so cool how that world, and that's something else that they talked about as well, is how Gusteau's is more like a movie theater. Like it's got that really rich tone with the reds and the curtains and like everything. And I don't know why I had never thought of that, but I never really made the connection. And it does kind of have like that warm kind of like cozy movie theater kind of feel before you get settled in.
Yeah, and I love that they show Skinner over there too, because it makes me think of a scene that could have been where you see Skinner and Gusteau interact, because you assume that they knew each other before Gusteau died, because he passed it on to Skinner, or somehow Skinner was the next in line to be the chef. So it would have been interesting to see some interaction between Skinner and Gusteau as well. That's
interesting. Yeah, I guess you're right. We don't know how he necessarily came to take over as head chef. You assume it's just like you said, they worked together, they had a history.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have known, with Gusteau being as open as he is, how would he have handled Skinner, and was Skinner just totally like cool with not being a spaz like he turned into?
That's what I'm saying. That would have been a great sequence to see kind of Skinner's relationship with Gusteau, and maybe some irritability there between the two, or at least between Skinner.
Right. So do we have another short?
I love it. Keep them coming. Keep the Ratatouille. You can make a whole DVD out of things.
Yeah, we need more shorts. I love the shorts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, so one of the other things that I thought was kind of cool, back on page 19, there was some Jason Deemer work, which obviously I always just get just ridiculous jealous of Jason Deemer's work that he does. I mean, like, look at the stinking detail in the pencil work that he does there on that. And then he also did all these other kind of character layouts. You can see, the motion and the movement of everything he does there. But I thought it was a really cool note that he added on that page where he talked about, or maybe it wasn't on that page directly. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. But he talks about
that's the one.
Yeah, that the eyes are in line with the mouth. It's like, again, not only are we getting insights to the movie and things we haven't seen, but now you're getting little teeny lessons from character designers of tricks and things to do.
Well, actually, this one is talking about where I thought you were going. This one actually talks about how they wanted to make him skinnier than the other rats because he was more picky
with his food.
Right.
Which I thought was another really cool detail.
Yep.
Right, and they kind of say that on the Gusteau lineup as well, where they're talking about, not Gusteau, with Ego.
Yeah.
When they're talking about Ego, they're talking about that, of course, he's tall and skinny too, because he's only eating when it's, and he's not going to finish it unless it's amazing either.
Yeah. And Britta, you had something to say about the skinny Remy's.
Oh, well, I understand why they were going with the skinny Remy based on his personality, but I'm glad that in the movie he's not, like, super skinny, because rats are cuter when they're, like, really full.
Yeah, she thought it was a little bit sad to see him so thin in some of these pictures. He looked almost like emaciated a little bit, and some of them get really skinny. But we agreed that the final render was a better balance.
Yeah, like this. I mean, and then you can even see the difference. Like, how different would he have been if he had like that nose?
Right.
Yeah.
Just a totally different character.
Like a meerkat or something there.
Yeah. And it was cool how they said again, like, how they did different things to make Remy just look a little different and kind of an outcast from the community, from the rest of the community, where his nose goes like points. It's a little bigger and points down a little more, so he can be a little bit better as far as like having that smell aspect. Whereas like the rest of him, especially his brother Emil, has the smaller nose that's more upturned. Kind of cool. You just love all these little details and things that you can pull out of these, especially if you're an artist and you want to go towards something like that. So Kate, how about you? What's something from the book, a section or a character or a piece that really kind of caught your eye?
Two parts.
Okay.
The first one is on page 144.
All right.
I think Ego's coffin room is genius.
Okay. And obviously, like they have that awesome shot of it when you see who's the guy that comes in? Is it just like an assistant of his that walks up to him?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But
Who does the voice of that character?
I don't know.
Dan?
I actually don't know this one. It wasn't on one of your Trivia Fridays.
Well, maybe it will be for people that aren't necessarily watching. I believe, and somebody can correct me that's watching if I'm wrong, but I believe that was Brad Bird, who's the gentleman that walks in and gives the news to Ego.
Oh, look at you.
I like it.
That's
All right, so keep talking about that. What else was it about that really kind of like that caught your eye and what meant something to you?
Well, I just like the details that they put into their character. So Ego is this, they say in this page, he's like the Grim Reaper kind of. And to dress that up or to put, flair to his character, he has a coffin-shaped room. It's got purple pillow cushion walls like a coffin would. The typewriter, which they say it looks like a skull, and it does, but just to think about that detail that they put into development or to add to the character, I do really like that about Pixar, that they actually think about details like that. So yeah, instead of just giving him a dark room, let's give him a dark room with a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was something else from his office that I was just drooling over too. It was actually Skinner's office, so I'll get to that. But I did love this one that Harley Jessup did as well, where he's got all the look at all those details and those like tall ceilings and the curtains and everything. I loved it.
Yep.
I'm actually going to bring that up. You remember, just a couple minutes ago, you were talking about Gusteau's restaurant and all the reds and that theater feel.
Yep.
I feel like that same look almost reflects in Ego's office, only it's much darker and deeper and it's more musty feeling, but it's almost that same color scheme and it's almost that same feel, but just more like
sinister.
It's the contrast to it.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like the sinister. I like that. It's a good word choice there. So the other thing that I thought was kind of cool, that following along with these books, is you can see like there's some work by Robert Kondo throughout it. There's plenty of work from Robert Kondo in here. But what I thought was cool about it is obviously he did a ton of work with Dice Sasumi on the sets work with Monsters University, and I thought it was really cool seeing how not only a breadth of his work again, but how his style has changed from when he was working in 2005 time frame when he was doing all this design work on Ratatouille to when he was doing it in like 2011, 10 time frame on Monsters University. Definitely he's got more of I feel like he's more like Harley Jessup here, which I guess kind of follows along because Harley Jessup was the production designer, but his style is much more loose now than it was, and I wonder if he was just following more of like a structured format being newer to Pixar at that point. But I love looking at these books to not only, you can see the artist progression as well. Really cool stuff.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
So
I wanted to add.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Britta.
So with Ego's office, it makes sense, since he's a critic, that there would be a kind of death theme, because a critic can in some ways kill a restaurant with their terrible review, and so since he has that dark power, then it's just kind of fitting, and it's an extension of his character.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I'll diverge completely right here, but if anybody saw Birdman at all, there's a critic in that literally is just like, she tells him, I'm going to kill your play by writing a terrible review. So same kind of thing. And she says, I'm going to kill your play.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So
there you go. Great insight.
in Ego's big room, the shot that's done by Harley Jessup, all those little pictures on the wall, maybe those are all Ego's kills.
Ooh, I love it. like his bad reviews that he's written, like up on the wall there. That's awesome.
Clever.
Woo! I'm like totally intrigued now.
Yeah, maybe those are. He's like, look at all the good work I've done.
That's another short.
It's like his trophy wall of everything that he killed.
You're right, Britta. You're totally right, Britta. That's another short that we need to see, because we obviously got a little taste of Ego and his past, but now I want to know more about him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So TJ, I gotta ask. So I saw when I was flipping through, I saw a lot of Robert Kondo, and I saw a lot of Harley Jessup, and a lot of repeats from 3 or 4 guys over and over again. Were they like the main in charge of the main art direction there for this one?
Yeah, kind of like how it was for Monsters University. You have like a smaller group of people that are kind of creating the overall look and feel. And then from there, the other people kind of tack on and put their input in. Like you'll see like somebody that gets pulled into a lot of projects, and I love his work too, but he's not like one of those main designers. He's kind of one of the guys that like takes what some of the other people have done, like what Jason Deemer does and those types of things, and then expands on it, is Matt Nolte. And like his style is ridiculous. Like that is... Like, there's not many people at Pixar that follow this kind of format anymore. This is, like, straight up, like, classic Disney stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Like, total squash and stretch, and, like, just, I love it. I love it. I love how I keep peeking over the book.
So I think the people I see most is Harley Jessup and Robert Kondo. Did they have more than others then, as far as where they were in the production?
Yeah, so there's a spot where it talks about, I mean, Harley Jessup is the production designer, so he's gonna. I'm not surprised that he has the most.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering if he was. Okay.
Right. Exactly. And then from, I can't remember what Kondo's official title was, so we'll have to come across it here as we find one of his little call-outs. But he's on the page where they're talking about like designing the kitchen, and he talks about that he loves that the tiles had different details on them, and he said that like Pixar, it's one of the things he loves about Pixar, that they have those types of things. Okay. As I'm flipping, I'm just going to stop because this is one of my favorite pieces.
I think that was. No, that's not the Paris one that you were thinking.
I thought it was another.
Oh,
but yeah, I did like that.
I cannot get enough. I mean, like, okay, so the one thing I'm going to point out, I got to get really close. I'm going to try to get the glare off of there. Like, look at the detail that he even put creating the little teeny, like, mice in this little house that's, like, floating on the water there. And, hello?
Which page number was this again?
What's that?
Which page number was this?
Oh, yeah, that one is on 38 and 39.
Okay, heading there.
Just ridiculous detail as far as the lighting and the feeling of it being in the sewer with the light just streaking down from the top there. And you've got this, what they also talk about in the book, which is awesome, which it's got all the cool tones in the rat world.
Yeah.
And then they make the human world really warm with all these rich tones, so that way it's kind of like something that Remy would want to go towards.
Right. The contrast. I really like the contrast that they put throughout. Like, a rat cooking, what?
Yeah, that's another contrast. Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the sewer thing. Do you think it would be fun sitting down in that room when they were coming up with, like, what does a rat live in? What does his chair look like? How does he get around? And coming up with all those different things that a rat would do, where, like, they have the shoe turned into a chair, that's the chair.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That would be just such a blast. I mean, Dan and I talk about it all the time about, like, just dying to be in any of their brainstorming sessions.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh
god, just to get a sense for all that they do, And yes, Robert Kondo, it talks about his title on page 78, and it says that he is a set designer. So yeah, so he's very early on. He's doing a lot of work. He's doing everything from, working alongside Harley Jessup, and he's doing the sets for the kitchen. He's working on sets for the sewers, all over the place. Obviously, we saw Ego's office, so really cool stuff there.
Yeah, Dominic Luis has a lot too, and I really like his work. What else has he been a part of? Probably a lot of stuff, but has he been very prevalent in any of the other ones?
You know what's funny is my brain is not telling me the answer right now, but I know he has been. I feel like it was possibly Cars 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to look that. We'll have to look that one up.
Speaking of him, go to page 152, Dominique, because that's my other favorite page.
Yeah, he does a lot of my favorites. He's really impressive. He impressed me well.
So this one was another one of the ones that you really liked.
We bookmarked that one too.
Yeah, that was one of Britta's favorites too.
Yep.
Yeah, again, look at all the detail in the Eiffel Tower there. It's a digital painting. It's a digital painting. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's got skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Talking about the sewers, you were just talking about the sewers. It was interesting. They went down and even researched that and took photographs. They said something was. What did they say was unique about the sewers in Paris? They said something that they incorporated in the film to bring out some color. By going down in the sewers and researching it, they found some things to bring into the film. I can't remember exactly what. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. But it was cool because they said that they went down there and they were kind of hoping for this crazy world that is always portrayed in movies and such. And then they said like they had to kind of plus it and make it kind of like this fantasy world of Paris that people would think of more so. And they talked about that not only in the sewers but above ground as well, where anytime there was an arch, the arch was stretched up even higher, and like all the other ornate stuff was even more ornate. And
yeah,
they call it gypsy style or gypsy inspired.
Yeah.
I think it's page 41 when they go into the sewer stuff because they bring up, Paris sewers being famous because of Phantom of the Opera and Les Mis, and then they got there and they weren't as evocative and romantic as they had imagined, so they did what TJ just said and kind of dressed them up a bit.
Right.
Yeah, that page, and then also on 45 they talk about it too.
Okay, yeah, 45 was cool because obviously then you've got like the actual pictures of when they were going, like some of the still shots from when they were down in the sewers. Like you've got this little, handle there, and just cool to get all those extra details there. I'm looking at my notes, and one thing that kind of caught my eye, and I don't know if you guys caught this, so tell me if you did too, or if this was anything that stood out. There's been a couple mentions where there were early drawings, 2001 time frame, one that Carter Goodrich did, and that's obviously big in itself that we're talking about this from 2001.
Yeah.
But he labels the characters as Art and Pesto, and it's Remy and Remy and Django, his dad, and like that kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, did they have different names in 2001, or was this kind of like an artist, like Carter Goodrich just throwing a name to them because he wanted to give them a name?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so how many years then was this in development? Because I know Brad Bird took over after it had been there for a while under another director, but so it went back all the way to 2001 or before, huh?
It's interesting. Yeah, there's a whole series of Carter Goodrich drawings where he's talking, and he's got, first off, Carter Goodrich. Can we just? I mean, you've heard me talk about him before, but hello, pencil work.
Yeah. He's good.
Just to drool over. God, love it. But yeah, a lot of his early ones of the character development is 2001 time frame, and and you don't see, there's really not a whole lot of other artwork from there. So I wonder if they did like early tests and then kind of like just sat on it for a while and said, well, we don't have the people to even produce this, but it's just an idea we're exploring.
Yeah. And how many of those exist?
Oh, you mean like other ones that we don't know about that we should know about?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then there's an Emil drawing where he's mentioned as like MT or MTI or I don't know what the heck that one is. But Dan, were you going to say something? I think I keep cutting you off.
No, I keep on cutting you off. I was just going along with, because you were talking about Carter, some of his stuff that I loved was on page 30,
Okay.
where some of the rats are a little bit more. I think this was a time when the rats were kind of more kooky and had a little bit more personality to them. So you have like one named Twitchy who looks like neurotic and super skinny, and then you have like an old lady one and one called Little Scrappy Guy, and they just looked like a little crazier than they actually ended up. I thought those were pretty funny.
Those are the rats you don't want to run into.
Right.
Something else that one of my favorite things that I learned from reading this book was...
And that's Carter, too.
Yeah, you should show.
Oh, yeah.
Was learning about Remy's mother. That's Remy's mother.
Britta thought this was hilarious. Tell him why.
Well, just the fact that she's like this tired old mother rat.
Overworked.
Yeah, holding like 3 screaming triplet rats, and it says that her name is Desiree, and they tried to develop her, but it didn't really work with the story. She is the overworked mother of 200, but she always knew what was going on with all of her very precocious children. So I just thought that was fun, and I think that's a short film idea that they could have found. Yeah.
Add it to the list. It's just funny. We related to that. We see that at Walmart all the time. You have that one mother who has like 6 kids under 6, and she's just like frantic and frazzled, and I just thought that was kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
TJ was for them. You there, TJ?
Finally, I'm back. So can you guys hear me?
Yeah, could you hear us that whole time?
No, and I was dying. I see you guys laughing. You're going back and forth, and all of a sudden my audio,
no.
like I could see you, but I just couldn't hear you. My audio dropped out.
Oh man, yeah, I thought you weren't responding, so I was like, I thought something was up.
You missed my second favorite part in the book.
Oh, great. Well, okay. Well, sorry, I'm gonna have you say it again. What was it?
What was the last thing you heard? So we don't.
It was it was when we were It was when I was ready to hold up the craziness of the rats.
Oh, you're back there. Oh yeah, we could go back to that. So what did you think of the crazy rats?
Oh well, I was just basically. I wish I would have heard what you said, but I was essentially just saying that like Carter Goodrich though in general he definitely stretches whatever that Pixar gives him, and he does that kind of thing where he really pulls characters into way crazy directions and then tries to get them outside of their comfort zone. So it doesn't surprise me that he drew some of the rats that looked like that on page 30.
Yeah, we just thought those were funny.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to take a stab at it. Was your other favorite part with the old lady in the house?
Oh, is that? No, actually, it's another one of Carter's, to give you a hint.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell me.
Okay.
There are triplets involved.
You can hold it up again.
All right.
So this is Britta left this.
Yeah. This is Remy's mother, Desiree.
Yes, yeah. I thought it was cool that yet again we get an insight into another mother that got the chopping block.
Yeah. You can just do a summary of what we were talking about before.
Just that she is the overworked mother of 200. And
we just thought it was funny. Britta loved like the screaming triplets and
all the little kids like all over her.
And what I was saying is we see this all the time. Like when we go to Walmart here and you see like moms with 6 kids under 6 that are just like frantic, and the mom is just trying to like get them under control, and she seems like frazzled and everything. And I just thought of like this mom having like 200 rats going everywhere and her having a handle on all of them. I just thought that was funny.
Once when I was thinking of that, when I was at Walmart, there was this mom with all these little kids, and she's like trying to hold on to all of them, And then one kid's like, Mom, I can see your underwear. And the mom just like sighed. It's like, that's the last thing that she needs. They're probably hanging on her pants, like pulling them down.
There's like a million of them.
Yeah, and that's why the kids could see her underwear, is because they just like tugged in her pants so much.
Well,
Yeah,
I
that
think,
was Remy's mom right there.
I think we have an idea why Remy's mom had to get the boot.
Yeah, it would have been a little that would have been a lot to kind of keep under control on film and to really portray that. That would have been a lot to handle.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, I was just thinking. Right now, I'm going through storyboarding, and you have to cut anything that doesn't add to the main character's goal, or And maybe they were like, "This is fun, but what are we gonna do with it?"
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the old lady, since I took a stab and thought that might have been the one.
That's right.
Yeah, so on page 50, I thought it was crazy. I had totally forgot that they had given her a name of Mabel.
Oh, yeah.
That's such an old lady name. Call her Mildred.
Mildred?
That's another old lady name, yeah. You never know any like babies named Mildred or Mabel.
Hey, there might be someone watching named Mildred, so you got
Sorry.
That's funny. So I thought it was kind of fun that they included her because, again, she's a pretty minor character, but from a story standpoint, she was necessary to be there, though, to set up that whole backstory of Remy loving food and being in the house and then cooking the stuff on the roof and all that other kind of stuff.
And you have to get to an old lady's house.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. the lag that we have on the feed. I was going to say it's good that it happened in an old lady's house because she can't hear or see anything, so the rat's free to do what he wants.
Right, exactly. She's too busy snoring watching TV.
Yeah, I think that was probably, I mean, knowing how detail-oriented they are, I'm assuming that was done on purpose, having her not be able to hear or see well, and that kind of clears up a possible plot hole of, like, how did this lady not know all these rats were living up above her, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's essential. She really sets everything in motion because, I mean, she shoots down the ceiling, which makes all the rats run away. So, yeah, essential part.
She definitely loses her mind. I mean, I don't know. I'm never going to destroy my house like that.
No.
I don't know. Maybe if there were some 500 rats above you, it might lose your mind, too.
You know what? You're right. I might really start freaking out. So let's talk about some of our other favorite pieces that kind of caught our eye in there. So I'm going to bring up one that I absolutely loved, and I don't remember the guy's name, so I will look at it right here. It's on page 71, and it's Bolhem Boshiba. And of the four that are on that page, I absolutely loved the one where Remy's up in Linguini's hair. It's just like, that really sells and gets across, like, I feel like he's buried in that hair right there, and he's doing that pantomime stuff.
And that's one of the things I liked about just it for concept reasons and not art, but that he was controlling him like a puppet by pulling his hair. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, but it does.
Yeah. It was a fun little crazy thing that they were doing there.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Britta?
Oh, I was just saying they made it work. I was trying to think when Kate was saying that if they hadn't done the hair, what else could they have done to have Remy somehow signal what to do and how to move?
I don't think they could have. That's why I like it, because it does make sense when you see it. Well, yeah, that's how you control the arms, but then logically you're like, no. But it's an animation, so that's where you get to be creative and you get to do whatever you want, and I like that.
Yeah, to be honest, I remember when I first saw it, I wasn't totally sold on that part of the movie. I remember thinking that was just a little over the top and like, oh, no way, that wouldn't happen. But then I got over that really quickly and just, it's, like you said, it's animated and you totally can, you don't have to obey by all our rules in animation, that's for sure.
I'm glad
Kate-
Remy doesn't talk, though.
What's that, Britta? Sorry.
Weeks in the real world.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't talk to people. He just gestures. I like that they kept it more realistic that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good choice.
Yeah, I did think that was good too. I mean, plus one of the funniest parts that I crack up at like crazy in the movie is when they're in the old lady's house and like they cut away from Remy and Amelia yelling at each other, and then the old lady, it's her perspective, and you just hear them.
Yeah.
And then they go right back and you hear it again. I mean, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was a great little story element there, or just like for us as the audience, they needed something to tell us as viewers, these are the rules of our world. People can't see them talking. When they see the mice or the rats interacting, they can only hear squeaks like you normally would. They can't hear the talking. So I think that was there to establish that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kate, was there another favorite piece or a piece that stood out to you?
Just those two, the coffin room, Ego's area, and then the big picture of Paris at night, just because I like the light and I know how hard it is to put lighting into a piece of animation, so I appreciate that. I thought it was well done. It was pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so talking about like lighting, like how awesome is this little like? I mean, I know this is like more of a drawing and more of a digital painting itself, but like I loved like that they put all these details in there. This reminded me of like a moment in Brave where they're in the witch's cottage and they spent all that time creating all of those other wood sculpts, and they created all of those like tools that she was using to carve that were hanging in the background. Yet you don't ever really see them because they're all in the background. I love that, like just the shadow on his like the handles for the knobs for his desk drawer and everything, and the light.
And there's two sources of light in that picture. Like that's crazy. I don't want to do that.
But it's amazing. So let's see. There's another one that I wrote a big note on, and I just wrote Goodrich. So this is another like Goodrich drooling one where I was like, oh, are you kidding? Like this isn't even Pixar. This is like an official art piece.
Yeah. Yep.
Like just super cool details. Love all that. That was on page 92.
He has really good line work in that one. Like they could probably frame that and put it in, I don't know, Z Gallery, and you could buy it.
Like legit. That's what I was thinking when I was looking at it. I'm like, this is a legitimate like art piece. This is not like just a casual thing. People would pay a ton of money for this. Now, granted, people would pay a lot of money for these other things too, but that's like really universal.
Yes.
Because you don't even see necessarily the characters. You're just getting the craziness of chefs in a kitchen, and people would be like all over that. I could see people eating that up in a gallery.
Britta, you could put it in your Ratatouille themed kitchen.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
You mean to say eating up? Because that was a good pun if you meant that.
Oh, hey, I didn't. I love it. So how about you, Dan? Was there another piece or another particular page that really caught your eye?
Well, I think both of us kind of have the same last one that stood out, but I don't know if we quite want to get there because it's among the obvious, but it's the last page with the logos.
Okay, that's totally cool because I was actually going to go there too because I love that.
Oh yeah, that was our last one.
You have to tell us which one is your favorite.
Yeah, you tell us your favorite, then we'll tell you which one we like besides the one that they went with, obviously.
Well, that's not fair. I was going to ask you guys that, and I was going to ask.
I'll pick one.
All right.
Okay, I'll pick one.
So what I was going to ask everybody though is, knowing that we know on page 158 and 159 that what the final logo is that they picked was the one in the lower left-hand corner that we're all familiar with. But I was going to ask not only which one is like a favorite, but if that one was not an option, what would you force yourself to pick to be the actual final film logo? Okay, Kate, go.
Bottom right.
Bottom right. Okay, I'm going to pull that one up here. That's this one?
Yep.
Okay, and then how about Dan, Britta? What would your two choices be?
Mine is the top right.
The top right. So you're thinking this guy, with the cheese there for the A?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about Dan?
Mine was actually the middle left top.
The middle left top. Let's see if I can come up with that one. Are we talking
The
about?
Rainbow Ratatouille?
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's like rainbow. Yeah, it's on the top, middle, between. Yeah, okay, that's the one.
Yeah. This guy here then. So
Yep.
my choice was kind of along those lines. I actually liked this one in the bottom middle here.
Oh yeah, really similar. I like
Yeah.
it was between those two.
Yeah, very similar. The thing that I looked at when I saw that though, I'm like, is it too kind of Monsters Inc-y?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the furry brushstroke there.
Right, yeah, because a lot of the monsters had like those like almost like scales coming off the side of it a little bit too.
It's interesting that it looks like for a while there they were trying to spell it wrong, just probably for kids who didn't know how to say it with the O-U-I-L-L-E in there. Because it does throw people off. I mean, that's kind of a hard word to say. So it looks like they were trying to make it more easier for kids to read.
Or just like rats.
Oh yeah, there was one that was just rats. Yeah.
Right, yeah, rat or rats. Yeah, it's like that wouldn't have been the same either. But
And then they spell it somewhere. It's just like exactly how it sounds with a T-O-O-U-Y at the end.
Yep.
right, yeah.
I
would've-
like how they though and did the pronunciation along with the actual
Mhm.
spelling. That was a good idea.
Yeah, I looked at. I mean, I guess it's tough because knowing what it is, you're like, oh yeah, I'd go with that one. With like it's both ways, like you said, with the spelling and then like the way to pronounce it on the bottom there. But I don't know. I guess I feel like some of the ones with the character, like where we actually see more of a representation of Remy, like I didn't really like those as much for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, really cool.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say, I remember when it first came out, and even some adults were like, Ratatouille? Ratatouille? Like, I remember people being confused. I mean, now I think people really people know it, and people, oh yeah, Ratatouille, but a lot of people said Ratatouille, a lot of people said Ratatouille. And I remember even in the teaser trailer, they have a soundbite of someone, I think Chef Skinner, saying Ratatouille at the end because I think they wanted people to know how to say it.
Smart.
Yeah, it makes sense. Hey, you might as well feed the audience what they need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel like I covered off on my main topics and main points. Was there anything else that you guys had as far as from the book standpoint? Because I do have a couple other questions too. But from the book standpoint, that you wanted to call out, whether that be art or a little call out where you learned something interesting, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that we could probably talk about. I mean, there was so many great pieces, but I think that was it.
I do have to say, I tried looking up
Oh, yeah.
the characters' names to see if there was any
French meaning.
special French meaning or translation, but
But there was.
Oh, but that's really cool. I wish there was, because I don't think anybody's necessarily thought of that, and I think that would be super cool if they had like this little underlying meaning or whatever.
Yeah, they definitely are French names. Like they all had their French translation when you type them in, but there wasn't anything that really correlated with the movie whatsoever.
I love
Like,
the
what was-
detect. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh no, I was just talking to Bro. What was the one that we had that just didn't go along with the character at all?
Let me look it up.
Was it a mill? I think it was a mill.
Yeah, but I love the detective work though. Like the fact that like you had thought of it and like spent the time to do it. That's usually like something like you're taking some good cues from Dan, because that's usually something he digs into.
No, I was impressed with that thought, even though it didn't amount to. Yeah, this was an example.
The name Emile means industrious.
Okay.
But I don't know if I don't think that there's any special hidden meaning or thought put into that one.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I think we looked up Gusteau too.
And Remy is an abbreviation of Remington, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Which means rower.
Yeah, rower.
Yep.
Rower. Huh.
If it meant rat, that would have been cool.
Yeah, if they had like some other deeper meaning there.
But not for someone named Remy in real life, so that would be.
Right. Oh, hey, that sounds like an eBay notification.
You know.
What are you bidding on?
Just the watch item is ending in 15 minutes.
This is something that you're actually looking at.
Is it a Pixar item?
No.
Not Pixar related? Okay, then don't
Not
worry
Pixar,
about it.
so gotta turn it off.
But you know that if you're a big sushi fan, on Pixar or on eBay, you can buy for $300 a Monsters Inc. wooden sushi platter.
Or a cutting board.
Yeah, this wooden board.
Yeah, it was like some in-studio production exclusive item.
Yeah,
for the team.
Doesn't it have like the octopus chef?
No.
No, just the logo.
Okay. Got
It's
it.
this one.
Oh, we're actually. Oh.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
Yeah, it's that one.
$300 and it can be yours.
Yep. No, we're there.
You're gonna be picking that up so you can review it for the site, right, Dan?
That's it. Except
He
for I could
doesn't
just go
like
pick up
sushi.
I could go pick up a cutting board and just put the logo on it for nothing.
Well, then you have to create a mold. You have to heat it and burn it into the wood. It's just easier to spend the
you're right.
300.
You're right. I'll just do the 300.
Yeah.
I don't do that anyway.
Yeah. So let's talk just a quick thing about the movie itself. So we've talked about the book, and if anybody else has anything about it that we want to bring up, just jump back in. But as far as from the movie itself, I'm interested to know what you guys think about it, because I feel like a lot of times when I talk to people outside of necessarily the Pixar fandom arena, Ratatouille is not one that people are like just super excited about off the top of their head. So I want to know, like, on a 1 to 10, what, Dan, you think about it first. What would you give it, 10 being best?
I would say it's up there for me in the category of just like me and Brett talk about this. We've talked about it a few times where we just feel like it's a beautiful film. We just feel like just the music and the visuals and the dialogue, how it's written, just so many beautiful aspects about it that I feel like it's one of Pixar's just beautiful films all around. If you look at it compared to, say, I don't know, all Pixar's films are beautiful in a sense, but do you know what I'm saying? Kind of more of the artsier feel compared to maybe like Toy Story.
Absolutely, 100%, and I feel exactly the same way. The details that they put into it, the color palettes, the warm tones, the way the light reflects off of objects, it always has like a warm bounce coming off of it. It's without a doubt one of the more gorgeous films that they've done from a look standpoint.
Right.
Along with the blue umbrella, it's funny that whenever Pixar does something French, it's always pretty and artsy. They've never done like anything French that wasn't.
I think France is pretty and artsy, so I think they go along with that.
Yeah.
So for me, in that standpoint, just like I just love the dialogue, especially Ego's speech in the last few minutes, just beautifully written. That alone just gives me chills every time. Just everything, just from that standpoint, I would give it a 10 out of 10. Other reason, some other points that I don't like totally love here and there, really few and far between. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. But I mean, it's a great film.
Cool. And then how about you, Britta? Where do you slot this one in the Pixar arena of movies?
Well, we were talking about how one can be too familiar with vegetables. I would say it's got to be a 9.5. It's right up there.
Yeah,
Okay.
between my 9 10 and my 9. I think I ended up somewhere in the 9.5 too.
Yeah, I am right there with you.
Perfect, absolutely. And Kate, how about from your perspective? What do you think about it from a movie perspective?
Well, I'm trying to figure that out. Like, I'm thinking it's not in my top 5, and it's not because it's not a good film. It's a really good film, but the reason, you know, Dan and Britta are right. It's very beautifully done. It really is. It's pretty. I think it's one of the more realistic stories Pixar's told. As far as, I mean, not a rat cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah, right. We know what you're saying. Yeah.
Of like, you have this dream, and if you really want to make it come true, you can. And a lot of people, you know, want their dream to come true. So I think that there's a more human story to it, and maybe that's why it wasn't in my top, because the ones that I like more are really fantastical. Like, I love monsters, Cars, Bug's Life. And I know they all have human life stories, and that's what makes Pixar kind of a cut above. But this one just seemed more grown up. Maybe that's it. This is a more grown up story.
Sure. Yeah, 100% agree that this is definitely less of a kids movie than it is a grown movie.
And and it doesn't make it bad. It's good. It's just not one of my favorites.
Sure.
And I think why you were talking about like how a lot of people you talk to aren't necessarily, I guess, not in their top Pixar movies. And I think a lot of that is because a lot of these parents are going off of how their kids react when they watch it.
Yeah.
For example, like my sister, she always says, "Oh yeah, Ratatouille is a little bit boring, isn't it?" Only because her kids are bored when they watch it a little bit, because it does deal with more adult themes, and it is a little bit slower pace, and it is more artistic. And so I think a lot of parents just, it's not on their tops because they think it doesn't quite relate to kids as much as some of the other ones, I think.
I would say most kids probably don't even know what Ratatouille is after watching the movie,
Right.
so...
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah, Go ahead, Britta.
Oh, well, my mom said this. Like, the dish that he makes isn't really even Ratatouille. He makes a tart or something. She knows more about that than I do. But if you've ever had Ratatouille, it's more of a stew with, like, cubed vegetables, and it's not quite what he makes.
Well, they made the fancy Ratatouille.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because like they talk about in the movie that it's like a peasant dish, so that's why it was such a surprise. And that's actually something that I think is kind of a cool twist, is that it was a peasant dish, so it had a lower, like it had this like, oh, this connotation that's not gonna be good, but then it became amazing, and they made something so simple, beautiful, tasty, and just blew him away. But they talked about that in the book, that it was such a stew thing, and Brad Bird was, I think it was even Jan Pinkava, the original director at this point, that was saying, yeah, I was worried about it, that it's like a stew-based thing, but there was one of the chefs made this version of it that Remy actually ended up making, and then that kind of changed their mind and said, okay, we can make this into a beautiful and tasty dish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a foodie standpoint, though, the one thing jumping back to the book, and then I'll kind of talk about my standpoint of it from the movie, is because I forgot to bring up that I'm surprised that I like the movie and the book as much as I do, just because of the underlying tone of the food element of it. And there's there's that time where you're learning about the kitchen, and there, who does this? That's the sous chef. That's the saucier and all these other kind of things. That part totally still intrigued me, but I really have zero passion for food, and it's one of those things where it is straight fuel to me. If I could, I'm one of those people that if I could take a pill and never have to eat again, I would totally do it. I find it to be, I find food to be nothing but an interruption from my day. So I'm kind of surprised that this
food... By the way? Where's that? Oh, here, the little red phone, right?
Where did that come from? You're like so over this conversation after TJ doesn't like food.
Yeah. So
I thought you liked Disney fruit or Disney Goofy snacks.
Oh, like fruit snacks?
Gummy Goofy snacks. Yeah.
Oh, that's candy. That's not really. We're not talking about like. Yeah, that's totally different. Candy is like a whole separate food group, and I can eat the heck out of that.
When you and Julie go to Disney World, though, don't you just like love all the deliciousness in the restaurants there?
I do, but here's the difference. Actually, the difference is that I'm on vacation when that's happening, so my body can allow myself to like slow down enough so I can actually enjoy the food that I'm eating. The rest of the time, I'm just like, let's get over.
I gotcha.
I see Kate nodding a lot, so do you feel the same way, Kate?
Yep.
Okay.
Like granola bars at my desk, I'm just going to eat that and get through my lunch hour and keep working. I don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, and I really do. I'm envious, especially because I know Dan and Britta, you guys are all about it, and you guys spend the time and you post pictures, beautiful pictures of the meals you guys make. And I'm just like, I'm envious of it in a way, but at the same point, I'm like, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's just funny. Like, as soon as we're done with dinner, it's like, ooh, what do you want to have tomorrow night? Like, and then like as soon as we hit breakfast, we're like, oh, what do you want to do for lunch? It's like we're always like talking about our next meal.
One of my
two next meals.
Favorite things with Disney vacations is going on websites and like looking at all the menus and deciding exactly what I'm going to get for every meal and snack. Like
she
where
plans
we're
it out like
go,
8 months or a year in advance.
Yeah. I'm already planning my meals for our cruise in November.
Holy cow. Yeah, that is some passion.
I'm not that hardcore. I don't go on Disneyland.com and look at all the stuff, but I do get excited for certain places that I know we're gonna hit up. So, but we're definitely food people.
And like I go and look at Google, like if there's something on the menu that looks good, I'll Google it and like see people's pictures of that food and then read their reviews and.
And I follow like Foods of Disneyland and Disney World on Instagram.
You
I
do?
do that with coffee.
Isn't it like Disney food porn?
It is.
There you go. So, I totally forgot what I was going to say there, but like from a vacation standpoint, how about at Disney World? We're going to take another divergence here. At Disney World, what's your favorite place and meal there?
I think we talked about this, but I can't remember what we said. So
we love the French restaurant.
Well, there you go.
In Epcot.
Wait a minute.
And Remy used to visit that restaurant, but I guess he doesn't anymore because
Did you know that?
Too busy.
That they stopped having them there?
Yeah, they used to bring them out on a little platter.
Cart.
Well, he's on a platter on the cart.
Yeah.
Either way. And he was like a little animatronic Remy that would squeak at people.
Little.
He was like this big, and he would squeak and interact with guests, and they stopped that before we even ended up going there. The first time we went there was the day after we got engaged because we wanted to do a kind of a fancy place, and it's become one of our favorite places.
And the creme brulee is so good there.
It's called Chefs de France for all you viewers that are wondering. It's delicious.
And this is in Disney World?
This is in Epcot, in France.
So I'll have a confession about that restaurant.
Okay.
So Julie and I had that on our plan of where we were going to go on our honeymoon, so it was 2005, and we decided that we're going to go there. We go to check it out, and I looked at the menu, and I'm also extremely picky with what I eat. And I don't like a lot of things, and they had so many exotic things that the duck, yeah, they had the duck à l'orange all over the place.
That's what you loved.
I don't know. I have a hard time eating duck just because it's like I love ducks. Have you ever looked at a duck walking and not smiled? They look so cute.
True.
I'm with you, TJ.
I also smile at cows and
piglets
and chickens and things like that too.
And not even just pigs. She has to pull out piglets.
Oh, okay. Well, TJ, I am right there with you. I'm not a fancy guy myself. Like I am picky when it comes to some of the more fancier dishes or the more exotic stuff for sure. Brita's more exotic to me. I don't do sushi. I don't do a lot of fancy things. But I have come to find a couple things that I liked at Chefs de France. I did like the orange duck and
French onion soup.
and the French onion soup. I did find a couple of things, but it is on the fancier side for me.
Sure. Yeah, we did the again, totally diverging. We did the Victoria and Albert's, which is at oh God, what is that hotel? It's the hotel we stayed at too, for God's sakes.
Floridian?
Yes, the Grand Floridian. Yes, absolutely. So we did that. It's like a 7-course meal. They have a mandatory dress code, so we had to like bring a suit, and she had to bring a dress, and so we're in there, and like they're like, "Oh, perfect, sir. Would you like this, and would you like that?" And we're like, "Do you have ranch dressing?" And and like they brought out like this quail egg, and it was like this tiny. It looked like a robin's egg, and then like it had like this one little teeny leg like this long, and it's like this much meat, and I'm like, can we just have a second course of the salad again? And the guy's like, really? And we're like, yeah, can you just bring that out again?
That's funny. Well, I guess we've talked about how you wouldn't do cruises before. I guess the combination of the waves and the rocking and the fancier dishes would just kind of send you overboard, literally.
Right. Yeah, Julie and I, we felt like total fools, though, because, of course, Victoria and Albert's, they're like, would you like to meet the chef? And we're like, should we?
The one that made our salad?
Yeah, exactly. The guy that threw the leaves of greens in a bowl. So, but that being said, in talking about all this food and everything, Ratatouille is probably... I've thought a lot about this because there's a topic in the forum that a new user, Luis, just posted about ranking your favorite Pixar movies. And I still don't have a way that I can ever get it to a defined list, but I would say that this has to be in my top. What's that, Dan?
I just said me neither. That's why I haven't responded. It's like they're all like number one to me. So
I know it's so hard, but I will say that I believe that Ratatouille is in my top 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's in my top 5. It's so hard. But then all the ones that Kate mentioned too are in my top 5. So like, it's impossible.
I know it's not easy, but I really do think it's up there. I remember leaving the theater and really, really being impressed by the story and the message of it overall. And yeah, I do think it kind of goes back to what everybody was saying as far as that it is like a little bit of a more of an adult movie than just a kid movie, whereas some of the other ones have some of those other, like, yeah, obviously Mike Wazowski, what kid doesn't love Mike Wazowski?
Right.
Yeah, you don't see many kids, rushing out to get linguini toys or...
Nobody goes as Remy for Halloween.
Or going as Colette for Halloween or anything like that.
Well,
it definitely wasn't one of the ones they were trying to, like, market towards kids and get merchandise out there and Halloween costumes and all these different things. They definitely knew what kind of movie they were making, and it is what it is. It's not meant for... There he is. There's Monster.
Yeah. Monster has to make her inaugural visit to the episode.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Oh, and now she's not happy about me moving her either. All right. Well, that about wraps up the main part of the discussion that I had. Did you guys have anything else in particular that you wanted to chat about Ratatouille-wise?
Did you feel like kind of right in there between Ratatouille and WALL-E, both kind of were the more artsy direction for a while there?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. They definitely kept alive that unique, really unique direction, unique story. That kind of took like that. Those two movies were more of like from a cinematographer's dream. That was like a direction in cinematographer's dreams. Yeah,
I agree. I remember when they were back to back. I remember because it went from Cars, which was very very cartoony and very geared towards younger kids, to 2 movies in a row that definitely took the more artistic route and the more adult, the adult storyline and things like that. So for a while there, and even Up had a little bit of that for a while too. I feel like towards the end, not so much, but Up definitely had some of those artsier elements as well. So for a while, I feel like that was kind of Pixar's thing, that they've moved away from that a little bit, but they kind of keep that alive in their shorts, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, without a doubt. And obviously, that we're going to be having many discussions coming up about Inside Out, and it'll be interesting to see how that balance goes, because it seems like there's going to be a sweet spot where it's going to hit every target audience across the board, because adults are going to connect with it because of having kids. Kids are going to connect with it because of growing up and like just the kookiness of the characters with the squash and stretch. And then I don't know. I think that one's going to be obviously every age group across the board. So we're going to have some great conversations about that once that gets out there.
What do you say the style? Would you say the style is more their cartoony Toy Story type movie where it's very colorful rather than a Ratatouille or a Wall-E?
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think it's going to go that way for sure. I think it's going to be. I see Kate laughing there as we both were like trying to be kind, not stepping on each other's sentences. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be that style. I mean, they already talked about like a little bit of that Tex Avery style where they've got a lot of that big squash and stretch and the bright colors, and obviously they're gonna have like the emotions with their particle trails that come after them and everything. It's gonna be such an awesome movie.
Very
awesome world.
I feel like the concept and the storyline is very artistic and original in that way, but I feel like the design of the movie is more of the cartoony, colorful type design. Monster. So I feel like
yeah. All right, so we could keep talking about this forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, and we can stay on and keep chatting if we would like, but as far as to wrap up the book club discussion, thank you to the viewers that we had. We didn't have any questions come in that I had seen tonight, but hey, that's cool. I think we had some great discussions, went through some great artwork and had some insights from the movie, and then also determined a series of shorts that we're going to have to make.
I love that.
Can you submit those?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then obviously starting right now, the next book that we're going to be reading, I talked about it before, the precursor to the Art of series by Chronicle Books was a series by Disney Books, which was The Art and Making of an Epic of Miniature Proportions about a bug's life. And it has a really cool, you probably can't see it too much, but it has a really cool lenticular cover. And just by sheer luck,
it's huge.
It is giant as opposed to here. I'll hold up the Chronicle book versus this book. That's quite a size difference there. But it's really cool because obviously now you're seeing the artwork and even larger scale. And this one actually has a lot of text throughout it as well. But just by happenstance, when we ordered this, happened to be signed by the author, Jeff Curdy. So, hey.
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah. So, and it happens to be just like the Toy Story sketchbook that we got, which we had no idea back in the, when that was out, that it was like a limited edition and only the first 150 were signed by John Lasseter. We just got one of those. So, no idea there. Yeah. Yeah. So, maybe you'd like to gaze upon Heimlich.
Yeah, that Heimlich. I'm glad we're getting some A Bug's Life represented, because you got Heimlich back there. We're going to be talking about the making of book, because as most people know, that one kind of just slips under the radar a lot, and I just feel like it has some powerful moments, and I love it, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be great because it is one of those ones that even when you look at, like we mentioned in that forum post where people are asking people to rank the movies, they all say, I wish I could have ranked A Bug's Life higher, but sadly it's one of those ones that I don't think about as much, and I would love to get into like the reasoning and the rationale behind it, but I don't know why it's not higher on the list.
Me either, because it's my number 2.
Yeah, I love the characters. I think it's iconic. It has memorable music. It has a fun story. It has those heartfelt moments. It has a really strong villain, some really strong dialogue, especially towards the end. So I think it's fantastic.
The accessory characters are hilarious. The outtakes at the end are fantastic. It's great. It's one of my
Me and you,
favorites.
we'll root for Bug's Life to get it up there in the rankings.
Yeah,
Well.
I think we got to figure this out. But as a fun fact for everybody watching, Dan is definitely. I can't wait to hear his input on this one because for people that may not know, he was actually a member of an actual bug club.
You remember that? We talked about that like a year ago.
That's not something that somebody easily forgets when you know that a friend of yours was in a bug club.
That's awesome.
So we'll talk about that next time, right?
Yeah, of course. We gotta. You know what? We should lead off. Do you have any photos or any type of memorabilia from your original bug club days?
I don't, because it was just like I'll go into details. It wasn't like an official thing.
Well, I don't think you were like signed up through National Geographic Bug Life, but
No, I definitely. I mean, I could throw it out there now, but I'll say that just so the viewers aren't like left hanging. They're like, "What is this bug club?" It sounds like
somebody sign me up.
I know, but no, it really was. I was like 8 years old, and it really was just me and some friends for like maybe it lasted a day or two, and I got them together to look at bugs like with a magnifying glass. We went around the woods and different places to find bugs, and we called ourselves the Bug Club, and like that was really it. But I don't know what else to elaborate on. I was like 8, so.
No, that's totally cool. So for anybody that does not have this book yet, you can click on go to our site, pixarpost.com, click on the book club tab, and then if you order it with any of our links, it'll help support the site a little bit as well. So definitely pick this book up. It's a phenomenal book. I can't wait to talk about it a little bit more, and then let's shed some more light on Bug's Life. Let's make it and get it to that respect level, not respect, to the attention level that it deserves. Yeah. So that way everybody feels like Kate, and then it's at least number 2. So
yeah,
cool.
Kate, you can come back for that one too, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think we have anybody here on the forum that's as much of a Bug's Life fan as you, so that'd be great.
I'll be there. I'll convert people. I can do that.
Fantastic. And like I said, you've already got the calendar. February happened to work out to be a Bug's Life, so it's just too ideal. So, okay, well, that about wraps up this book club discussion. We got a lot of crazy off-topic discussions there, but I had some fun talking about the Art of Ratatouille. Thank you, Dan, for joining. Thank you, Britta, for joining and getting some insights there. Thank you, Kate. Dan, before we sign off, go ahead and tell people what your website is again and what you do in case they just caught this at the end of it.
Yeah, so if you are a Disney Pixar collector, I am as well. So I document my collection. I throw it on my blog, which is danthepixarfan.com. So I post every single day, have been now for almost 2 years, and just take some time. If you're a collector, like I said, just explore, go through the tags, go through the archives, and see what I got, and I provide links if you're interested in anything.
And I will say, I think we do need to highlight as well when we get to our next discussion the Bug's Life toys as well, because those kind of flew under the radar and didn't get enough attention either. And you have some awesome reviews, and it inspired us to buy some Bug's Life toys.
Yeah, that was really cool when you went ahead and found like the whole collection on eBay. So it'll be fun to talk about. Yeah,
absolutely. So, anyways, signing off for this book club discussion. I am TJ from Pixar Post. Be sure to stay tuned to pixarpost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.
Bye.